This is Gemara and Taanis Daf Yomi. So Freilich and Chanukah once again. All the learning should be as Choshedah for Yisrael in the version Miriam Raskei. This is good. Shadas B'Shana Makil Mordechai B'Shendel Sigur Tobas B'Shendel. As well as Choshedah Hashem Shal Yisrael Men Veder Men Veder Chaim Yisrael Shalom Sivnei Yisrael Baskin and the Basim Aschei Saif Salman in the says Yisrael Shalom Azami V'Shavik V'Shel Chana Shmol V'Til Din V'Chan Rizim Chai Basmin Adinei Meshin Bin Nosvi V'Ker and the Chalitzuna Sel Huber Rifka V'Hashem Zavzim Mechlester V'Soy Sha'ar Chali Yisrael. We pick it up on Yud Zayin Amud Beis. 3 lines from the bottom. Mirz Hashem will be finishing the second parak today. What a schus on Chanukah to be finishing another parak together with everyone. Let's get to it. Amar Mar, says the Gemara, quoting the Brisa from yesterday. We're in the middle of a discussion from Megillas Taanis. We know the Megillas Taanis is all the different minor Yom Tovim, small Chagim that the Rabbanim instituted, and there were different halachas for these Yom Tovim. One halacha was that day that they made the Yom Tif, you can't fast. It's a Yom Tif. Number 2 was you can't say Espedim on certain ones. Number 3 was the day before and the day after also has a din of Yom Tif to some extent, like we know an Erev Yom Tif and a Matzah Yom Tif on Isur Chag has a status. We don't say Tachlon. Similarly, you don't say Espedim, you don't fast, etc. So yesterday we dealt with the first part of the Bryce that dealt with the beginning, which was from Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the 8th day of Nisan. They made a Yom Tif because they had the carbon Tamid brought from the carbon Sibur and Baruch Hashem. So therefore they said they cannot fast. You can't fast on those, and you can't say Espedim the day beforehand. Ask the Gemara, why can't you say Espedim the day beforehand? It's Pashit because it's Rosh Chodesh. Answers the Gemara, no. Fundamental din, we have to remind ourselves. A din da'araisa, like Rosh Chodesh, like Shabbos, like Yom Tif, there's no chizik needed. Only that day is asur to say Espedim and fast. But the day prior is not asur. However, when it comes to these minor Yom Tovim, these dinim that are dinei dirabanan, then we have to be more machmir. And even the day prior Shabbos, the day Erev, you would not be allowed to say Espedim as well. And that's the reason why we said from Rosh Chodesh to teach the day before Rosh Chodesh is asur as well. So Amar Mar continues the Gemara, 3 lines on the bottom of the Zayin Beis. Mitamni Be'at Tzayif Mayada, from the 8th of Nisan to the end of Pesach, Yitaysev Chag D'Shvuaya, they established the Yontif of Shavuos. As we explained yesterday, what this means is the Karban Omer, which is brought 50 days later, that they established, that's brought on the second day of Yom Tov, but they established that Shavuos will be of 50 days from that day. Again, the Sudukim, maybe we should just take one moment and read it together, if I can find it quickly in Rashi. Yes, Rashi over here, Rashi on the first wide line says that, V'amar Moshe Rabbeinu Oiv Yisrael v'yodei she'atzeres yom echad hu Amar v'tiknu achar Shabbos kedei she'misangin shnei yomim v'dachu esan v'halchulam baisusim mikoyach hapsukim. And the baisusim are the ones that were coming to fight, and the baisusim wanted to say that no, it's always mimacharas Shabbos, it's always the day after Shabbos, and we of course know that's not true. It starts from a Pesach. So that was the yontif that they made when they won over the baisusim. So says the Gemara, why do you have to tell me you don't say Espedim at Soif Mayada? Why do you have to tell me you don't say Espedim to the end of Pesach? Leima ad Hamayid. Just say from the 8th of Nisan until Pesach begins. Umayid Gufei Yantifu, and Mayid itself, Pesach itself, from the 15th and onward is Yantif, and of course you can't say Espedim. So why did the Bryce have to say from the 8th until the end of Yantif? We know that. Just stay until Yantif itself. V'asar Amar Papa Kedamar Rav, like Rav teaches us. You know what this is coming to teach us? We turn over to today's daf. Yurches Amid Aleph. Yurches Amid Aleph. Here it is. El Eser. You know what the reason why the Bryce was teaching us? El Eser Yom Shalafanav. Like yesterday, we learned that the reason is that the Din D'Rabban, it's the day beforehand is Aser. Hachanami. So to over here, Lenischa El Eser Yom Shalacharav. Over here, it should come along to tell me that the day afterwards is Aser. That is the Chedesh. Again, if it was just the Yontif of Pesach, a din daraisa, only itself would be also, but the day after Pesach would be not. But therefore, says the Megillas Taanis, from the 8th until the end of Pesach is also to say Espedim, specifically teaching me that the day after Pesach is forbidden. Says the Gemara Keman, who does this din of Rabba go? Like Rav Yosi, the Amar bein lefnei lefana bein la'acharav. Also, this goes back to that which we saw in the Mishnah. Then the Mishnah we said, Machlokes between Rav Yosi and the Tanakama, which we'll see later today that the Tanakama is Rameir, it's not Mishnah Rameir. But according to Rav Yosi, what the din is that the day before and the day after, it is forbidden, like we just said. So it had to tell me that from the 8th until the end of Yontif is also teach you the day after Yontif is forbidden. But now I ask the Gemara 1 second, Yachi Esrim V'Tisha Nami. So too, ask the Gemara, the 29th of Adar, the day beforehand. My Arya, why did you have to say that day? Why do you have to tell me that the reason is that it's a day before, like we said yesterday, that from Rosh Chodesh till the 8th they established the carbon Tamid. So the day before Rosh Chodesh, which is the 29th of Adar, is the day before this Yontif. That's why it's forbidden. There's a different reason, says the Gemara. Typically, 29 is day after 28. So why are you telling me that from Rosh Chodesh to the 8th is Asr? To teach me that the day before Rosh Chodesh and the 29th is forbidden? No! The 29th is already forbidden from saying Yispedim. Why? Because the 29th is day after day 28. What's the 28th of Adar, Bey? Says the Gemara, the Tanya, 6 lines down, the Asr, Matam de Bey, on the 28th of Adar. They got a wonderful tidings, wonderful news, and I'm sure many of us will recognize this from the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yomi. What was the wonderful news? That they did not have to stop learning Torah. What was the story? Yisrael. 1, 2, they made Xer and Klai. Social aspect about Torah, they can't learn Torah. They can't give the children bris milah. They have to be Mechal Shabbos. So Yudah ben Shamua, what did Yudah ben Shamua do with Chaver and his friends? They want to take advice from one noble patron, one woman who hung out. She called Gedolei Ramim Mitzuin, I saw all the Romans hung out by her. She says to them, you know what you should do? Make a protest tonight. So they listened. They made a protest tonight. They said, they cried out and they said as follows: we're not your brothers. We're not the sons of one father. We're not the sons of one mother. He cried out to the Romans, why are we any different from every other language and every other nation? Shatim Goizim love Gzir, he made these terrible decrees on us. And what happened? Baruch Hashem, and they were mevatel, they nullified the decree. In that day, Asua Yantif. On that day, which was the 29th of Adar, they made a Yantif. So ask the Gemara, why did you have to tell me? From Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the 8th of Nisan is a Yantif. Why? Yesterday's daf to teach us that the day before Rosh Chodesh, the 29th of Adar, is forbidden because the din Rabbanan needs chizik, needs strength, so the day prior is Asur. Says Gemara, 1 second, this 29th is the day after the 28th. And the 28th is a Yontif, so the day after the 28th is Asr as well. So why did you have to teach me from Rosh Chodesh? Amar Abaye, teretz number 1, you're right. We need it for a full month. When the month has 30 days, then you have an extra day. You have 20, 29, 30. Then you're going to have an extra day in between. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Ravashi says, no, I disagree. You don't have to give that one unique case. Says Ravashi, I can even tell you that it's when Adar is only 29 days. And even when Adar is 29 days, so why do we need to tell me that from Rosh Chodesh? You already know it's forbidden because it's day after the 28th. Kol shalach rabbi Taanis aser, behesbin mutter. In general, what's the rule? The rule is that if the day afterwards is forbidden to fast, that day you're allowed to say Hespedim. Like we said, Hespedim are more chomer than fast days. But this day is special. It's sandwiched in between Rosh Chodesh and the 28th, this day of Yantif. Toivim asum ki Yantif as they made the day in the middle, this 29th day, this sandwich day, which is if a day of Yantif itself, and therefore it itself is Asr and Hespedim. So Rashi says it can work even on the Chodesh Chaser, even on the 29th day of Adar. Still, we need this day for what reason? To teach me there's an Isra of Hesped you're not allowed to utilize on that 29th day because it's sandwiched between the 28th and the Rosh Chodesh. I should say more precisely between the 28th and the Rosh Chodesh to the 8th, which is this day of Yontif that they established the Karban Tamid. Amar Mar, going back to dissect the Brisa about Megillas Taanis, says the Gemara, Metamni Beiva Tzayif Me'ada, from the 8th until the end of Pesach, Itosav Chag Deshuaya, the Yontif of Shavuos was established. For what reason? To the Misbad, that you cannot say Hespedim. Asks the Gemara, Lamali Lameimar Metamni Bei, why do you have to say from the 8th? Lema Betisha Bei, say from the 9th. Why? Again, this is all the same theme continuing from yesterday. Vitamni Gufei also, the 8th is already forbidden. Why? From yesterday, because the 8th was the day they established the Tamid. Answers the Gemara, fundamental teretz. Kivan de miklele milsa batlina leshiva tamnei. Gufei Aser. What might happen if Batlina L'Shiva? If these 7 days, the 7 days from Rosh Chodesh to the 8th, they were mevatel this Yantif. So Timanye Gufei Aser, the 8th day would be forbidden for this new reason. Why? So day number 8 is a double whammy. From Rosh Chodesh day number 8, they establish a Talmud. From day number 8 to the end of Yantif, they establish Shvuis. So on day number 8, we care about this day just in case this part of the Yantif was nispatel, was nullified. We still have the other part of the Yantif to make a spade and forbidden. But now says the Gemara, now what we said earlier falls off. Hasha, the Asas, the Hachi, Asimatisha Nami. On the 29th of Adar, the day before, like we just spoke about 2 moments ago. Kim the Ikla Milka Milsa, something would have happened, but Lina Lastrim Itamni, they would be Mavatel. The 28th, the Yantif, that we spoke about, Asimatisha Gufei Aser. The 29th would still remain as forbidden. Again, if the 28th, the day that they nullified this, they went out and they made a hafganah, they made a protest at night, but that day maybe they nullify it, it'll still be forbidden for its own reason. Why? They make me Yoma Ditikim to meet the day before they made the Talmud established. So it comes out is that there's really 3 different Yom Tovim on the table. With the day of the 28th, the day that they made this protest, that they got rid of the Gzeirah to not learn Torah, to not keep Shabbos, to not do Bris Milah. We have from Rosh Chodesh to the 8th, the day they established Karban Talmud coming from the Tzibur. And then we have the day of the 8th till after Pesach. The day that they established the Shavuos would be 50 days later. And we need each day, just in case the other days Nisbatel, we still have this reason that there's still a Yom Tov element that you cannot say a Spedim, etc. Says the Gemara, Itmar, 5 lines from the wide lines, and Yuchasam and Aleph, Rav Chia Barasi, Amar Rav Lachik, Rav Yosi, Shmuel, Amar Lachik, Rav Meir. We had a Machlekes back in the Mishnah a few days ago. Machlekes in Rav Meir was the Tanakama, and Rav Yosi. Rav Yosi is always been more Machmir than Rav Meir. Rav Meir says that a Spedim are Aser, but it's only the day before and not the day after. Rav Yosi says, no, it's Aser even the day after. Rameir says when it comes to fasting, it's only Aser neither the day before nor the day after. Rav Yosi says, yes, it's Aser the day before, but not the day after. So Rav Yosi is always one down more Machmir than Rameir. And Shmuel is saying we're going with Rameir, who's not as Machmir. But I asked the Gemara on Shmuel, does Shmuel really say this on the last narrow line? V'atani learned in the Brisa, Rashbag, Omer, Matam, Omer, behind, Shtei Ba'amim. Why in the Brisa did I have to use the word that behind? It said that on these days there are days of fast days. On these days there were days of Espeid. Then why do I have to say it 2 different times? Explains the first wide line. To teach you mutarim. To teach you Shehena Surin, they themselves are Aser. Both name will Achrei Mutarim, both before and after. Halach Rav Shimon Gamliel. He's passed like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So how could Shmuel tell me he's passed like Rameir, who's more Machmir? Excuse me, how can he pass like Rameir if we see over here that Shmuel is passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel, who's extremely mekel? Let's see one Rashi. Rashi over here, Rameir, tell me Stam Asidan L'Acharav is mutter. What was the psak of Shmuel like Rameir that the day after is mutter? But over here he's passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel that's saying that Lefneim Ula Achareim Mutar, and that both before and after is mutter. So before he's saying like Rameir that just after it's mutter, and here he's saying that before and after is mutter. He thought Rameir is the most mekel. Amar Allah Rameir, he passed like Rameir. Kim de Shamil Rav Shimon Gamliel the mekel Tvei Amar Allah Rav Shimon Gamliel. What's going on over here, as explained by Rashi, is that this is a din d'Rabbanan. So he wanted to go with the more lenient shita. So originally he thought, who is the most lenient shita? Rameir. But then it came along Rav Shimon Gamliel, and he heard that Rav Shimon Gamliel is even more mekel than that. And therefore comes along Shmuel, and Shmuel says, I'm going to be even more mekel like Rav Shimon Gamliel. The Gemara says 4 lines to the bottom. B'chein Bali Amar Rav Chia Bar Abba Rav Yechon Alach Rav Yosi pass like Rav Yosi. Amar Rav Chia Bali Asur L'cha. Hey, tell me the reason. Ki Amar Rav Yechon Alach Rav Yosi. Why? Because Rav Yechon says Alach Rav Yosi. Adolay list now. When did Rav Yechon say Alach is like Rav Yosi with regard not to fast? But says the Gemara, Miyam Rav Yechon Hachi. You're telling me that you Bali. You're passing like Rav Yosi, like Rav Yechon with regard to fasting. Is that really true? true. Again, what would the psak be? Like Rav Yosi, the psak would be that both before and afterwards it's forbidden to fast. Ask the Gemara, but does Rav Yochanan really say that? Rav Yochanan in the last line of the Stam Mishnah. Rav Yochanan goes with the Stam Mishnah. What's the Stam Mishnah? It's not prepping yourselves for the Gemara Megillah. Even though we said that we don't make the Megillah, we make the Megillah early. We never push off the laning of the Megillah, turning over to Yechesem Beis. Still, mutar and basbid and tainis. You're allowed to say hasbid and tainis on that day. Now the Gemara explains, Emas, what is the day? Again, there's a day of Purim, and we're pushing off the day of Purim, but on that day that you're reading the Megillah, you're still allowed to say Spedim and Taanis. Says the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that we're talking about a city, again, we know that the Megillah is two potential times you can read it. There are the cities like Yerushalayim that read on the 15th. There is Chutzaris that reads it on the 14th. So if you're going to tell me that it's a city that usually reads it on the 15th, then because that falls on Shabbos, Karlear Beisar, and they're reading it on the 14th. And what would halacha be that you're allowed to eulogize and fast on the 14th? Umi Shari, that's not true. Foxev and Megillah Taanis, it says, Yom Rabbi Asar Boy, Yom Chamisha Asar Boy, Yom Aburayan, on both the 14th and the 15th are Purim. You're not allowed to say has paid him. My Rav and Rav explained that it's Chalaser as that means that the place for the 15th and the 14th are both Aster and Hesped and Taanis on both days. So ask the Gemara, what is the day that the brother Rav Yochanan says that the day that they read the Megillah, you're allowed to say it's paid him and Taanis? Vela, you know what the day must be? But it must be referring to the people in the villages, the people outside of Eretz Yisrael. They usually read on the 14th. And then when it falls on a Shabbos, they read a day earlier on the 13th. Ask the Gemara, that can't be because Yom Nikanarhu. That is a day of Nikanar, which we'll see in a few moments is another day of a minor Yom Tovim listed in Megillah Taanis. And on that day, you're not allowed to say Espedim and Taanis. And we're looking for a day that the top line taught us that you're allowed to say Espedim and Taanis. What must the case be? Must be referring to the people who read it on the 14th, but this year, because it fell on a Sunday, you're going to read it on the 12th. Says the Gemara, that can't be either. Yom Terainis, as we'll see in a moment, that's another day in Megillah Taanis called Yom Terainis, which as well was a minor yontif that you can't say Espedim and fast. Elolav, and here's the punchline. The Kakarle Bechadisar, referring to when you push it all the way back to Thursday and you read it on the 11th. So what do we see there? Of Yochanan holds that you're pushing it up a day early, and whenever you push it up, you're allowed to say Espedim and Taanis. So clearly Rav Yochanan is not passing like Rav Yosi. Rav Yosi said the day before, and is also in Espedim and Taanis. And we see Rav Yochanan is not saying that way. Answers the Gemara. Really referring to the day where they usually read on the 14th and now they can read on the 12th. You're asking me that today of Taanis is a different Yontif. Yom Taanis Gufei Batuli Batlua. That day was Mevatel. We don't even know what that day is. The Gemara will explain in a moment. But whatever that day is, that Yontif, that minor Yontif, was Nisbatel. Why? Because of a story that happened that Shmai and Achayav, his brother, were killed on that day. So it's no longer a Yontif. Since it's no longer a yontif, that's the day that you can say Espedim and Taanis. Ki Rav Nachman goes to Chinese betrays like Rav Nachman made a fast on the 12th. Amli Rabbanu Yom Trainisu. How can you make a fast on the 12th? It's the day of Trainis, the day listed in Megillah Taanis that it's also it's a yontif. Amli, and he responded Yom Trainis Gufei Batu Batlua. Why? Because Shmai and his brother Achiv were killed. They got rid of that minor yontif, and now we're allowed to make fast days on it. Says the Gemara. Okay, fine. So you're telling me that Yom Terainis is no longer. But Tepekle, you know what? You should not be allowed to make a Espedim and Taanis on that day of the 12th. Yom Nikanar. Yom Nikanar is the 13th. And whenever they listen to Megillah Taanis, the day before, and you can't do anything. So the 12th is the day prior. Ravashi has to iu gufei batzlua. It can't be. If that day itself, they said today's a bad day, today's a sorrow day, today's not a day of Yontif. But you're going to tell me, but we're going to keep it a day of Yontif for the next day? They can't be. So now says the Gemara, beautiful, my Nikanar or my Taanis. What were these 2 days that we're discussing? The Tanya, as we learned in the Brayse, Nikanar Echa Me'afrechi Yavanim, explains the Gemara on how apropos for this to be the second day of Chanukah, discussing the Greek governor Nikanar, and every day he would wave his hand against Yehuda of Yerushalayim and Aimer, and he would say, Masai Tibel Biyadi, when is Yehuda and Yerushalayim going to fall into my hands? I'm Serena, and when am I going to trample over it? When the Chashmonaim prevailed, and they destroyed Benaschu, and they destroyed the Greeks, what happened? They went over to this guy Nikanar, and of course, it's a different Nikanar than the one that donated the doors to the Beis Hamikdash. Katsu behind his yad of Ragla, they cut off his right big thumb and his right big toe. V'talum, and some of us say they cut off his head as well. V'talum b'shar Yerushalayim, they hung it up. And they gave to Yerushalayim, B'amru, and they said, Pet, such a disgusting mouth like you and Hikanar. Shemedaber begaiva, you spoke with haughty against Hashem, Yadayim in your hands. Shemenifas Yerushalayim, you waved your hands against Yerushalayim. Taseh bohem nekama, we're going to have nekama against them. And that was the beautiful Yontif that they made the day that they defeated Nikanar. And that was Yontif number 1 that we're discussing in the 13th. Says the Gemara, my Taanis. What is this other Yontif on the 12th of Adar? This Yontif referred to as Taanis. Amru, they said, Kshabikish Taanis la'aruges Lulius upapis achif. Taanis wanted to kill Lulius and Papis, his brother Belutkia, in a place called Lutka. We're about 12 lines from the end of the parak. First one line is Upapos. Amru lahen, he said to them, so this king, this evil king Taanis said to these 2 brothers, Lulinus and Papis, are you from the same nation as Chanan and Mishaba Azar that Hashem saved them from the Kivshan Ha'esh? Yavu alukechem, let your God come, Yatzlaschem yadi, let your God come and save you from me. Like he saved your forefathers, Chanan and Mishav Azara. So Nebuchadnezzar, excuse me. So Papa and Lulainis responded, they were Tadikim, number 1. Number 2, they were able to have an ace. And Nebuchadnezzar, he was a good king, whatever that means. He was someone that was befitting to have a miracle that happened on him. But this Russia, you, Taanis, you're not a good guy, you're a Hediyat. You're not befitting for Nes to come to your hands. Va'anu, and says the Lulinus and Papis, and us as well in this Chayvu Kliya, we're Chayiv, we're obligated destruction of Makam to Hashem. And if you don't kill us, they said, Hashem has many pawns that he used to kill us, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, if we're Chayiv. And many bears, and lions, they could meet us, and they could destroy us. This was their way that they were makabel, they accepted upon themselves the decree. Hashem did not give us over only to your hands. You know why? Hashem is going to pay you back, and Hashem is going to destroy you. And still this Taanis didn't listen. Hargam, he killed them. And miyad, boom, Hashem took revenge. Amru lo zazu misham, Taanis did not move. At Shabo, diofli miroimi, until officers came for Rome. Upatsu by Meichan begins when they smashed open his head with clubs and they killed Taanis. So on that day, even though we lost 2 incredible people, Lulinus and Papis, but because he was a kapara for the entire Klal Yisrael, and because immediately Taanis was killed, they made that day a Yontif, and those were the 2 days of Taanis. And as well, those were the 2 days of Nikanar as Taanis, as we saw my Nikanar and my Taanis, the 12th and the 13th of Adar, that we discussed, that were days of money in Megillas Taanis. And let's wrap up today's shir as we finish up the parak. And guys in Taanis Alativa B'Tchil V'Chamishi, we said we don't start fast days on a Thursday. And guys in Taanis Rosh Chadash, we as well don't start fast days on Rosh Chodesh. The Kamei Have Aschala says more. What is Aschala? What does it mean to start a fast day? A fundamental question. Rav Achim are Shalosh 3 fasts. Rav Asi Amar Achas even 1 fast. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Zudev Rav Meir. These are all the words of Rav Meir. Shamar Mishim Shimon Gamliel of Chachamim Maimrim Misanim Umashlim. That once you start a fast, you complete the fast even on Yom Tovim. This is going at the end of the Mishnah that Rav Meir said that even though Rav Gamliel said that the fast days are not stopped for Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, and Purim. Chanukah like today, but you agree that you don't complete the fast. But says Rav Yehuda Marav, it's not true. You're even Masanim Umashlim. And the parak concludes by saying, Darish Marzucha Mishmei Deravuna Alacha, Misanim Umashlim, that if there would have been a fast day decreed, we would have to even finish it even on a day like today, like Chanukah. Hadron Allah, Seder Taanis, Ketzad, Hadron Allah, we should do a fabulous Chazara of the second parak of Masechta of Taanis. And Amir Tashem, again, on this Yantav of Chanukah, the light that pushes away all the darkness, learning of the Torah. Shahida is pushing away the darkness. We do a wonderful Chazara, which we'll continue learning together for many, many more Masechta, Isblat, and Amir Tashem, the entire Masechta, and many, till the entire Seder Ma'id, very, very soon.